Hey guys, I'm back with another video. I know it's been a while. I've been fairly busy with the holiday craziness and my day job and whatnot, so I've been trying to find time. Usually when I find time for something, it's already kind of old news, so you have to kind of strike while the iron's hot a lot of times. But anyways, so I saw an article this morning. It looks like it was something that came out yesterday, but the American Psychological Association is released a report that sets guidelines for mental health professionals to combat traditional, quote unquote, traditional masculinity, and which is it's dog whistle for toxic masculinity. You know, that phrase that you hear thrown around quite often, especially by the progressive types. The types that want to see men kind of knock down a peg, if you will, because they feel like, you know, that's how you combat the patriarchy, is to basically neuter men. That's their goal. That's what they want to do, is to neuter men so power can be exerted over men. Not necessarily letting everyone exert power, but you have to exert power over men, specifically white men. So I wanted to take a look at this article and kind of go over the finer points of it. So this was from ABC St. Louis. Not a whole lot of outlets have picked this up yet. I saw Town Hall had something, but I didn't want to be reading an article from somebody they're fairly right wing, although I think they're considered credible. So probably the least biased article I could find on this was this ABC St. Louis. So anyways, let's go over this. This American Psychological Association, which sets guidelines for mental health professionals in the United States, has released new guidelines for what it calls traditional masculinity that has been found through research to be psychologically harmful. This is going to be interesting to point out, what is psychologically harmful. And they kind of give high points of that a little bit down in this. The guidelines, which APA routinely sets for mental health clinicians, were released this month. It says these guidelines are the first ever made to psychologists to work with men and boys in the U.S. The new APA guideline states that while men, especially the evil white man, dominate professionally and politically, men also create or commit the most and are victims of the highest percentages of homicides and violent crime. So naturally, men are naturally more aggressive than women. I mean, that's been proven. So yes, they are going to be the people who commit the most amount of crimes and are going to be the highest victim of crimes. That's kind of the side effect of an aggressive, biology, or the aggressive nature of men that's coded in their biology. It's kind of a great strength as well as their greatest weakness. While yes, men commit the most crime and are victims of the highest percentage of homicides and violent crime, they dominate, the tech industry, they dominate, politics, they dominate corporations. And again, that's not to say that there's an evil patriarchy. I think we all know the argument that just men are more inclined to those professions than women are. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right? Women are more inclined to be teachers, to be nurses, so on and so forth. And of course, this argument's been made a million times by a million other YouTubers, so I'm not going to rehash those points. But they're basically framing this as the career choices of men are harmful. So let's see here. According to the APA, traditional masculinity is a key factor of the fact that men commit most of the crimes and are victims of most of the crimes. The main thrust of the subsequent research is that the traditional masculinity marked by stoicism, competitiveness, dominance, and aggression is on the whole harmful. Men socialized in this way are less likely to engage in healthy behaviors. One study found that more men conform to masculine norms, the more likely they were to consider as normal risky health behaviors such as heavy drinking, using tobacco, and avoiding vegetables, and to engage in these risky behaviors themselves. So a key point here is that Traditional masculinity, which again I'm saying is code words for toxic masculinity, is marked by stoicism, competitiveness, dominance, and aggression, which traditionally that's what men are. That's biological, right? And again, you're going to have outliers. You're going to have people who, use those traits for to get ahead in their careers and to be successful in their careers, and you're going to have men who abuse those traits. It's the same, that you're always going to have that. And of course, the way the APA is framing this is that, well, it's worth removing what makes men successful just so that they are not doing the bad things that they do. So that, and again, this goes back to the whole thing of, a lot of the regressive left want to neuter men so that power can be exerted over them. Because again, social justice is all about power. That's all it is. I mean, it's pure and simple. It's not about racism or, sexism or anything, which it is those things, but it's about exerting power. The APA also knows that while men do not report depression as much as females, they commit suicide at much higher rates. And again, that goes back to traditionally men don't really seek help, right? And again, that's how men are raised. It's kind of like suck it up, and that's an important lesson. If children are going to get into conflict, they need to be taught to suck it up and deal with it, right? Now, it does need to be saying that, yes, it's okay to ask for help, right? Which is important, but men need to know, or kids, and this could be same for, I guess, for both men or boys and girls, is that you need to deal with your own problems, right? And so that's a huge important lesson for children. I'm actually listening to right now, I haven't finished it, Joe Rogan's podcast with Jonathan Haidt, where he's basically talking about this. I think it was released yesterday, that children need to be exposed to conflict, and they need to be able to resolve the conflict themselves so they can be more competitive as adults and be more tolerant is the wrong word, to where they can be more competent adults, as opposed to waiting for somebody else to fix their problems. They can learn they can fix it themselves. And of course, naturally, there's going to be side effects of this, and I would say a lot of the side effects have been positive, right? You have men who are operating at the highest levels of business and technology and science and everything, in sports, simply because of these traits. If you were to take these traits and trivialize them or to try to suppress those traits, you're not going to see men who are hyper competitive. You're not going to see men performing at their best. It's the same thing for women. Women need to also, they need to express, their biological traits, to take advantage of those so they can also be hyper competitive in their fields. Women who are doctors, who are nurses, who are teachers, if they are allowed to express their biological traits, they're going to be hyper competitive in those fields and be very successful. So, a little bit of a rant there. So, reaching boys and men, the APA says, will be challenging as the group says males with traditional masculine roles statistically do not seek medical treatment and mental health treatments at a much higher rate than women or males who are not as grounded in traditional masculinity. And again, that kind of goes back to what I was saying. Men just don't, they tend to say, well, I'm going to get better, or I'm going to deal with it. Men tend to fix things. It's interesting when I talk to, I've had numerous women tell me that, guys, they internalize things. They don't really talk about their problems. And if they do talk about their problems, they're looking for somebody to fix it or help them fix it, right? I am even, guilty of that. But women, when they complain about their problems or they talk about their problems, they're just they're not looking for help. They just want somebody to listen, somebody that empathizes with them, somebody who just says, you know what, you're right, that sucks. And I've been told many a times when women are coming to me with a problem, they are coming to me just because they want somebody to listen to them, whereas men go because they want a problem fixed. So that's the key difference between a lot of men and women. So And men, again, they think that they can fix their own problems and they don't seek help, which, it's okay for men to go and seek help, right? I'm not advocating that men need to internalize everything, but, we have to be careful. This, I think what the APA is doing here can be dangerous, because if we completely neuter men, they're not going to express traits that are also helpful to them. Whereas women, on the other hand, since they want to talk about their problems, just to have somebody empathize with it, naturally they're going to reach out to professionals when they are feeling depressed. So more information on these guidelines can be found on the APA's website. So, and of course this is just a quick little blurb, but kind of scanning the actual documentation, it's telling... It's definitely trying to attack, what makes men successful, right? And again, if those things that make men successful also makes men fail, right? That's just how it is. If men are not, and it's not going to be necessarily that, in my opinion, while the study kind of reads that we need to suppress things like competitiveness, dominance, and aggression, that's how the report's reading that. We should be telling men or teaching boys how to focus those things into constructive things, right? If you have somebody without focus or anything, they're going to get involved in crime. There's so many great minds that have been wasted. I have friends who work in the education system, and they tell me all the time that there are children who are absolutely brilliant, but they're not given the proper focus and guidance, and they just end up going to jail or committing crimes. Whereas men who, they are given the resources to focus those traits, they do amazingly well in school and in their careers of choice. And this all goes back to parenting. In my opinion, we have a parenting crisis, right? If men have, good male role models, these, men who have been taught how to focus these traits, they're going to teach that to their kids. So I think ultimately it's not the problem of traditional masculinity. It's not the problem that men are stoic, competitive, dominant, and aggressive. It's that boys they don't have the father figures to teach them how to focus this stuff. So I think that's the actual root cause of this problem. And I think it's the answer to this problem. Now, how do you achieve that? I don't know. But I think that's the answer to this problem. And I think that just, telling people, we need to suppress these traits is definitely the wrong way to go, because we're going to have a society of just weak men, which we're kind of seeing the results of that now, when these college students get out in the real world and it's kicking their ass, they are freaking out about it. So that's the real problem, is that we just need better parenting. We need more and better father figures in men's lives. And we don't need to suppress the biological traits of a man. So, but anyways, kind of a rant there, but I kind of want to just put my thoughts of that out, and I feel like it's a little all over the place. But anyways, if you disagree with me, please tell me. Leave a comment. And if you like this video and like my other content, go ahead and hit the like button, and subscribe. And I'm definitely open to any criticism, especially if it's constructive. So yeah, just go ahead and leave a comment. I appreciate it. Thank you.